Hello and welcome to my first SPFBO finalist vlog. I'm so excited that it's finally time to bring these to you. If you don't know what SPFBO is, I am a judge for it. It is self-published fantasy blog off, and this is a competition hosted every single year by Mark Lawrence. I do have a video on my channel that explains more about it, and I will link that down below, as well as Mark Lawrence's blog post. The rough idea of what it is 300 books are entered into this competition and then placed into groups of 30 that then go to a blogger, or what we call a judge. Sometimes these are groups, sometimes they're individuals. They then, out of their 30 books, have to pick one finalist, and in phase 2, all 10 judges read the other people's finalists, and we have a scoreboard, a leaderboard for the 10 finalists, and we eventually have a winner. We're in phase 2 right now, so that's gonna be what you see throughout this video. However, in phase 1, I did pick a finalist. I picked Master of the Void by Wen Raven, which is a coming-of-age fantasy tale about a world where everyone has powers, but what if you don't? I really enjoyed the magic take in this and our characters and the story and journey we go on. I had a lot of fun. I can link the video down below where I read my semi-finalists and picked this one as my finalist. I'm rooting for it within this competition since I picked it. But here are the 10 finalists. I'll be doing 2 vlogs for these. I'll be doing a vlog with 4 books and a vlog with 5 books. I have nothing planned on how I'm gonna read them. I'm just gonna mood read my way through them, and you will see what you see throughout this vlog. And without any further interruptions from myself, let's get into reading book 1. I decided to start with The Last Ranger, which, like, this is my most anticipated SPFBO read, so should I have started with it? Probably not, but also, like, let's start with a bang. So far, I am enjoying this one. I'm 75 pages in. My first thoughts are I like our main character. She is an unlikable character. I think an unlikable MC lends itself to having a lot of character growth throughout a story, which I really like as well. I just think that reading about a passionate, fiery character is a lot of fun, and they're a character I enjoy. They might remind me a little bit of myself. People who don't really think things through and just act. It's a way of life. That's been a really positive of mine, that I already like the main character, because sometimes it's not that easy. I think my biggest negative at this point is the world building. I don't fully understand the magic, and we're being thrown a lot of things. I'm trying to just trust the process and see, like, okay, if it's important, it'll come back around, because there are a few things that I'm like, am I supposed to be remembering all of these different creatures, all of this, or can I not? We're just gonna play trust the process with that. Can I tell you what this is about? I think so. We're still in setup at this time, but what this story is about is our main character, who is a ranger, and this means that she is protecting her, like, people from these titan spirits of the forest. Something happens to her people, and she is the last ranger, and she goes on a quest for revenge. I'm also expecting really heavy themes of colonization within this, just because we've already had discussions about it in these first 75 pages, and history being written by the victor, and those are buzzwords for me, so I'm really excited to continue this, and I will keep you updated. I'm on page 273 of about 420, so I'm really close to being done this one, and I figured I'd update you. I am still enjoying this one. I think that it's a really cool story. I've been liking the magic system. I know I kind of complained about it. It is a lot looser than I typically like. I wish there was a couple more rules and I understood it a little bit better, but I think that's just personal taste, and I think this is doing what it's doing really well. Like, it's a really cool and expansive world and magic system. And I am liking our main character, but I am struggling with one decision a lot. I'm appreciating how this story discusses prejudice and how prejudice, like, clouds our judgment. However, early on in the story, we have our character who thinks a certain way kind of come to the realization that maybe she is clouded by her prejudice. And she kind of sticks by that for a good, like, 30 pages, 50 pages, and then she goes back to her old ways, and I'm just finding it really frustrating, and that our main character is just willfully blind, and it feels repetitive because we've already had that breakthrough moment earlier on in the story, and I wish we had continued from that breakthrough moment instead of backtracking. Some could say it is realistic to how it is, like, you do backtrack. It's hard to just, like, put your prejudice away, but I'm just finding for the sake of overall plot, it's making the rest of the plot feel repetitive, and I wish that we just hadn't had that moment. I wish that we had just waited till later for that breakthrough moment, because we are going to get another breakthrough moment later on, and I know that's going to happen. I still think that this is pretty strong. I think the writing is really strong. I'm really enjoying the writing. I'm enjoying the tone of the story. I really like the magic, as I said before. This is a contender in this for me. I think a lot of people are really, really gonna like this one.
I finished this book a couple days ago and I need to update you guys. I wanted to sit on my thoughts on this one a little bit. Honestly though, it's not really sticking with me. The longer I leave it, the less I remember exact things about the story, which is not my favorite way to feel about a book. I do think that this book does a lot of things well, but it just didn't capture my attention the way I wanted it and thought it would at the start. Some of this might come down to the fact that there's a lot of traveling in this, and I'm not a traveling kind of person. I find traveling very boring. Like, you know, Lord of the Rings, where they're just traveling and traveling and traveling. That's not for me. It's for a lot of people, but it's not for me. And there is a lot of just like going from place to place in this story. The other thing for me is that we know something. We know a couple things, to be honest, that we learned in flashbacks earlier on in this story, and then we're just waiting for our main character to learn those things and for the story to progress once she learns those things, because she can't move forward in her prejudice without learning that specific thing. And I just found it incredibly frustrating because I already knew. I wish there had been a mystery about it. I wish I hadn't been told and I was learning with our protagonist, because I was just so frustrated at her. It added to a pacing problem for me because I was like, okay, we should be past this at this point because I'm past it. As the reader, like, I'm already past your prejudice. I was past that 200 pages ago, so why aren't you past that yet? And it just didn't really vibe for me in that way. But I think the magic system was really cool, and I did really like our main character. I think that she was fascinating, and I think that the way her prejudice was done really well and very natural. Although I have complaints about it being like back and forth, it is real that it would be that way, but I just didn't think it worked well for my reading enjoyment. But it did feel like really good representation of like what someone with this hate would be feeling. But I also think that the side characters were lacking this. I wanted more out of the side characters. Considering we're traveling with a group of people and we're spending so much time with them, I didn't feel like I connected to any of the side characters. It was really just about our MC, and I wanted more from the side characters. Like, we're hanging out with them so much, why don't I feel like I know them better? That was a big complaint for me. But, like, I still liked where the story went. I still liked the conversations we had in it. I still liked our main character, and I really liked the magic system. It is a lot softer than I normally like, but I thought it was really interesting. I loved, like, the tree leg scene. When you've read it, you'll know, but the tree leg scene I thought was really cool. There's a heartbreaking scene at the end as well that I really liked. Okay, let's go over what I gave this. I am giving characters a 7. As I said, I really liked our main character, but for me, the side characters are where this is losing marks. I just wanted more from our side characters. Plot is also getting a 7. I really enjoyed where the plot went, but the pacing issues are where I struggled with the plot, and I felt the plot got very repetitive at times, so it did lose some marks there, but I enjoyed the overall arc of the plot. I'm giving the writing an 8. I think it was quite strong. Again, just like some minor issues for me, some decisions that I think were a little unclear with the writing, specifically a fox. I don't understand the fox. Could be a me thing. But I think that overall, I felt like this writing was decently polished, so I am going to give it an 8. The setting is also getting an 8 from me. I really liked the magic, and I liked the world building. However, I wanted a little bit more, because I think that there were some really cool things about, like, the Titans and stuff, but I wanted to know a little bit more about how they worked, or how her magic worked, and I would have liked to understand more of the politics, because that was a big part of this, so I wanted to understand it a little bit more. And in my enjoyment, I'm giving it a 7.5. I think I liked a whole lot of this book. I enjoyed my time. However, there were points that it lulled for me a little bit, specifically when we're just like walking through a forest. I did have a few issues, but I would like to say there's really pretty artwork within this edition, and I think it's really, really stunning. And I love, 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 love when a paperback has that. I wish I could give this bonus points for, like, the stunning artwork in it. I think the artwork did help me enhance the world just a little bit. It scored a 7.5 from me for SPFBO and a 3-star for like my regular reading. And I think that that's not a bad score. I enjoyed it. Like I liked it. I have started Daughter of the Beast. I am about 75 pages into this one. My thoughts on this are not the most favorable at this moment in time. I am intrigued by the story. However, the
writing style isn't my favorite. This is a little too purple prosy for me, a little too wordy for me. I feel like there's a lot of words that didn't feel necessary besides to just add a little oomph, but like that's just not a style that like works for me because it doesn't add oomph. It just makes it harder for me to read it. My biggest complaint with the writing style is that we are in a like 12-year-old. I think she's 12 at the time. Either way, she's supposed to be a young girl from a village in the middle of nowhere, not really know a lot. So she doesn't know a lot about the world, doesn't even know who these creatures are. But yet I, a 26-year-old woman, am Googling words. Like I literally Googled 3 words last night. She's using bigger words than a 12-year-old would use. It takes me out of the story when I'm like, what? Like why would you use that word? It makes no sense for a young girl like this to use it. And that's just a choice the author made, and that's a choice that won't bother everyone. I know a lot of people who love this book who have not had complaints with it, but it is something that's really bothering me. Just a style choice that I don't really like. I am interested in seeing where the story goes. I mean, we have a very like different style fantasy story than what I'm used to reading. We're following our main character essentially who has been stolen from her village by these beasts, and she doesn't know why. We don't know why, but she's kind of forced to help them as she's like chosen by them, but she's also not treated very fair, but she's treated better than the other people that were taken. And it's kind of a mystery to figure out why and what's going on. She's kind of being trained. I'm intrigued when I can get past my dislike of the writing style. Again, that's a very personal thing, but it is something that has been bothering me, so I did want to just point it out. Anyways, I'm going to keep reading this, and I will get back to you in a bit.
I have made it about 55% into. Last time we talked, I told you I was struggling with the writing, and I do think as I continued, I got used to the writing, and I liked it a little bit more, but it's still just like not my favorite style of writing. But I do think entering the 3rd stitch, if you don't know, this book is broken down into stitches, which are essentially parts. I think there's 6 of them. Entering into the 3rd stitch, I definitely saw an improvement in the writing, and it felt less overly descriptive, and maybe that's because we do get a bit of a time jump at some point during that, and our character feels more likely to say some of the things she's saying. But honestly, I'm still struggling with this one. There are things I really like. I think the world building is cool. It's like something I've never seen before. There are no like human characters in this. Everyone is some sort of mythical creature, which I think is really interesting. However, I want to know more about them. I feel like there is a lacking in showing me the world, and I'm just being told the world. So although I find it very interesting, I would like to see it more. Maybe the reason I feel that way is a lot of the world building is done through dialogue. Specifically in that 2nd stitch, we have our main characters talking to a lot of people and hearing about the world because she knows nothing about the world. But I was excited to experience it with her, but we're not experiencing it, we're really just being told about it. It's like that's just a style choice that doesn't work as well for me. I really like to experience a story with my characters. This is why I love a young character, because they're typically very naive, and I feel like I get to really see the world for the first time through their eyes and like feel these strong emotions. And our main character is definitely disassociating, and that's because she's going through some stuff. Like this is not the nicest world to her. However, because she's disassociating, she's not being curious, she's not questioning anything, she's not really caring about what's happening to her or around her. She's just kind of there, and that makes it really hard to connect to her, which is making me really struggle with this book. So like even the things I'm finding interesting, like the part where I'm at now, we do have a bit of a found family Stockholm syndrome aspect, which I think could be really cool. I'm still struggling because I haven't connected to our character. I'm excited to see how this ends because I am curious about how we're going to wrap up the like Stockholm syndrome conversation and how we're going to discuss that more, because I think that's really important to this story, and I'm intrigued to see more of the world, but I really just want to connect more. I really just want to feel some like raw emotions a little bit more than I am. I finished. I'm done. I completed it. I think that this book finds its footing in the latter half. I really enjoyed the last 50% a lot more than I enjoyed the first 50%. I really enjoyed the conversations we began getting. I feel like we got to dive a little bit deeper into things like women roles being flipped upon themselves. In this story, the savage beasts are women ran, women are the soldiers, and men are the ones that are weak and stay at home and do all that stuff. I loved when we dived into the fact that what one person thinks is normal is not necessarily normal for someone else. At the beginning of this book, we do look at things as an outsider and think this is cruel and this is mean, and then we dive deeper into it as we get raised within this culture and we learn this is just how it is. I loved the discussion on cultures being different and what you grow up on really deciding who you are as a person in some ways, and nurture versus nature and things like that. And I do think that we had some really, really strong discussions within this final half of this story that I really enjoyed. I thought the world building was really interesting. I wanted a little bit more from it just because this is based on Slavic folklore, and I personally don't know a lot about that, and so I found myself not necessarily understanding some of the creatures and stuff just because I wasn't familiar with them, and I kind of wish they were a little bit better explained. But in the end, I do think that it had a very unique world building, something I hadn't seen before, and I did really enjoy what we got of the magic close to the end. I wish we had gotten that earlier. I loved the exploration at the end of the magic, and I was really intrigued by that. I felt like that was what I was lacking at the beginning of the book to really catch my attention, and I think that could be because of the style of books that I really like. I prefer a book to kind of have a goal or like a plot that we're working towards and that I know we're working towards. For example, in Along the Razor's Edge, I know that Eska is trying to get out of the prison from the very start of the book, so I'm just watching her go through and we get to see how she does that. I feel like there's a line that I'm pointed to of like, this is where this book is going. In Ashes of the Sun, we're taking the Empire down, and I know really early on that we're gonna watch Geyer do that, and that's the point A to point B that I'm going to get throughout this story. However, in this story, we're more watching our main character become something that she's not at the beginning. We're watching her character growth, her journey, and I didn't really understand until about 50% where this book was really going. I didn't have a set end goal, and I still think when I got to that goal, it didn't feel like a set end goal. It was more still just watching her journey, and I really struggled with that. I struggled with the writing style. I just felt like I couldn't connect to the characters, which then made me not really care as much about her journey. I understand why other people liked this. I've seen reviews for it with people raving about it, and I agree with lots of things they're raving about. It just didn't connect for me. For this book, I gave characters a 6. I just wanted more from them. I wanted to care a little bit more. I wanted our characters to be more curious so that I could connect to them. I wanted to understand who they were. I kind of felt like some of the characters were very surface level in their beliefs and ideals, and I get that that could be the point, but it made me struggle to even care at all about what was going on around them because I didn't care about the characters because they just felt like one element to me. However, I also didn't hate them, and I enjoyed laughing with them at times, so it is a 6 from me. I'm also giving the plot a 6. I just felt like we didn't get enough of it. It felt very meandering to me. Although by the end of it I was intrigued, that was like the last stitch. And by then it was like too little too late for me to care about a plot of a story. The writing for me is getting a 5. I just struggled with it, truthfully. I just didn't enjoy it. Personal preference that it was just a little too wordy for me and a little too surface level, and I just didn't vibe with it. The setting I am giving a 7. I think that there is really cool world building. I really enjoyed some of the lore and the different places, and I wanted to know more about them. That was my biggest downfall. I think it could have scored so much higher if I had just learned a little bit more about everything, because I was eager to see other things and witness other things. But I do think that it had rich world building in some ways. I really liked seeing like the other creatures that came out in the forest and things like that. Those were fun, but I also wish I had more explanation behind some of them. And enjoyment-wise, I am giving this a 5. I liked half of the book, and I didn't like half of the book, truthfully. I didn't really enjoy the first 3 stitches, but I really liked the last 3. So for me, it was just a 50% enjoyment. I really struggled a lot of the way through this story, but I also really liked elements of it at the same time. But like, my struggle was a little bit higher than my enjoyment, which does put this rating at a 5.67, and I am using rounding rules for this, and I will be rounding to 5.5 for that. I can see why people really enjoyed this one, and I think if you like that writing style, you will enjoy this, but the writing style made me struggle in all the other elements of this book as well. I don't think I will be continuing on in this series, but I'm really happy I read it because I think it was something very unique. I am about to start The Fall's All There Is. I always forget to say the is part of that title, but I did get a package from the Broken Binding that I figured we'd unbox. This is one of 2 books. I don't know what it is. It's either The Will of the Many or King of Thorns, because I do have both of those coming, and the next one should be here probably within this vlog as well. I don't know what it is. My bubbles are already popped. Pop. It says The Will of the Many. Oh, I was unsure when I saw a picture of it how the like bright red would look with like the muted tone, but I think it pulled together pretty nicely. I wish that the like pull, when I had originally seen it and purchased it, it looked a lot more gold in their like mock-up, and it's definitely a little bit more yellow than I think gold, but I still really like it. It's a really pretty scene. And then we also have a reverse dust jacket that matches the original, but in red. But this is really, I think, the star of the show. That is stunning. And then we also have really pretty end papers with scenes from the book. Ooh, the labyrinth. This is like the coolest part of the book, so I'm glad it's in there. And then it is signed and numbered. It looks like I have copy 907 out of 1500. Stunning. My pages are a little stuck together, so I will just have to go separate them. They obviously didn't. But that is so pretty. And I love that the dust jacket has no, what is it called? Oh my god, words. No blurbs on it. I love, this is one of my complaints about some of their special editions, was the blurbs. So I really like that there's no blurbs on it. That's it. Now I'm gonna start the fall is all there is, and I will update you. I've made it to page 200 of this. So I just reached part 2. I think I'm about a third of the way in because I think there's 3 parts in this. This book follows our main character who comes from a royal family. He left it when he was younger. His father has now died and he is summoned back to a coronation. The problem is that all the heirs happen to be around the same age, so there's a lot of family drama. This is a chaotic, weird story in my opinion. We are following a narrative style that feels a little all over the place for me. I'm not loving it because I'm having problems connecting to it, because it just seems like we are doing one thing and then another thing and then we're talking about another thing and then we're talking about another thing, and there's a lot of just like chaoticness to it. It's done intentionally. It's done because of the narrator and his brain is like that. I think that is a positive that it's done so well and it's intentional, but it's making me not enjoy the story, if that makes sense. Because I do not care about anything happening in this, and part of that I think is just the tone of the narrator and that chaotic style. But another part of that is like the plot of this is just family drama. And I don't care about the family drama. I am a plot-driven reader. I've said this time and time again. I need a good plot that is an end goal for me. Like, from the start of the story, I know where this path is going. I need that to enjoy a story. Yes, characters can make or break a story too, but, like, I just, like, don't do well with a story where I don't understand where this story is going, and I feel that way about this. Like, why am I supposed to care about this family drama? Which I know not everyone will feel, but that's how I'm feeling. The other thing I really want more of is the magic. I'm gonna call it magic. So far, I feel like I've seen no fantasy in this, and it is more just a dystopian sci-fi world. But I want to know what the injections are and what they do, but we don't get that, and I'm confused. And like, I think the lack of understanding in this story for me is frustrating me more than intriguing me, if that makes sense. Like, I am frustrated that I don't understand the plot. I'm frustrated that I don't understand how the injections work. I'm frustrated that I don't understand the entire world building because it's just a little all over the place and we're learning small bits of information in the middle of like busy moments, and that is just overall like frustrating me. So I'm not loving this, but I think it's well written. It's not a book for me. Like, I truly think this is not a book for me, but I'm hoping that that will change as we get more and more into it. I finished this one and I didn't love it. I truly wanted to. I really wanted to. I had high hopes because it was described as genre bending, which is something I typically like, and the weird had me really excited to see like how it was weird and how it was gonna like come across. But in the end, I struggled my way through most of this book. I wanted to put it down so many times, and I think I would have without this.
I feel like normally I give you like a generalized thoughts and then I go through my ratings, but for this one I think I'm going to give you my rating and talk through each one as we go. There was strengths and weaknesses for me within the characters. I'm giving it a 7 for characters. I thought that all the characters had very unique voices, which I really liked. I feel like I knew which sibling we were with each time, and I felt like our main character always kept his same tone and voice the entire story, and I think that would have been really hard to do. Like A+ for being able to keep this style of narrative the entire story. I thought that was really well done. However, the characters lacked definition to me because I wanted to understand them better, specifically their motives for doing certain things, which I think I needed their backstories more to be able to really understand them. I wouldn't really get why they made decisions or why things were happening. I didn't understand why our main character even went back home because I was never really told. It was inferred, I guess you could say. Like, I think a lot of readers would just read between the lines, but I'm just not that type of reader. So I really wanted to be told more things to help me understand these characters a little bit more, but I do think that they were decently strong. So a 7. I'm giving the plot a 6.5. I struggled here with the plot, so I wanted to give it lower than this. However, I think that it does what it is trying to do well, so I'm in the middle somewhere. The plot is the character dynamics, the sibling dynamics, and what that means for them. However, because I didn't care about the characters, I didn't really care what was going on there, and that made me really struggle to care about what this plot was. I wish that we had those sibling struggles along with a more epic plot line, essentially. Like, I wish that I had seen the stakes at times, but it really just felt like 4 siblings bickering to me with no stakes in it, and there should have been stakes because there's a kingdom that they're discussing ruling, and I wanted the kingdom to become more of a plot point than just the siblings bickering. I am giving the writing style an 8.5. I talked about this with characters, that I think that having to do this tone would have been really hard, and I was really impressed how well it stuck. I don't think there was a time where I felt like the tone or the narrative style of the story changed. It is a chaotic mess the entire time in like the best way possible if you like it like that. I struggled with the chaotic mess, I can't lie, but I think it was really well achieved and it felt like it fit the main character, and it really felt like a stylistic choice that I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I struggled with the writing style, but I didn't hate it. And I kind of wish I had physically read this. I did listen to the audiobook. I think if I had physically read, I would have had the ability to like slow myself down more than I do in an audiobook. And I do wish that I had physically read this, which is not a thing I say a lot. I am giving the setting though a 5. This is where this book really lacked for me. There is this cool idea in here with no definition to it. We are thrown random things, but I don't understand them. We are told that there is like cataclysms, like the world has been destroyed multiple times, but like what happened? How? Where? I wanted to see that more. I did not see magic in here. I literally read a review today that talked about the mist being from spirits. I assumed it was more like a radiation poisoning fog. I did not get the point across that it was from spirits. And I think that's just because how this book is written. It's like we look at one thing and then we quickly look at another and then we quickly look at another and then we quickly look at another. And so the world building were just like one thrown off comments that were very easy to miss. So like for me, this was a sci-fi. Like I don't see any fantasy in here. We had cyborgs. We had injections that I think are codes. This is another part of why world building is and setting is getting such a low score from me. I just like, what were these injections? I think I inferred that they're like computer code being put into you, but that was never fully explained to me and I wish it was. Which again, the reader I am, I want explanations to things. I wanted the world to be better explained and I wanted to understand it more. I wanted the world and like the coolness of like a cyborg horse and stuff to take more of a center stage and be explained a little bit better, because I don't think that it's here. Like, feel like the world building is very much just the one-off lines in the middle of really busy scenes. And enjoyment from me is getting a 4. I struggled my way through this one. I liked some elements of it, but for the most part, I kept just turning this audiobook off for no reason and not putting it back on when normally I'd be listening to an audiobook all day long. I really had to push my way through this one from the very start, I feel like I was not having a great time with it. I was hoping it would improve, but my enjoyment just, it didn't hit boxes for me. I understand how someone else could love this, but it did not hit the boxes for what I'm looking for in my fantasy. But I think I can see how this would really work for someone else. I'm editing and I'm realizing I forgot to tell you what the overall score was for this one. It ended up scoring a 5.83, which rounds it up to a 6 for SPFBO. On to the next book. So I started Cold West. I'm about 50% into this one. Because it's so short, I figured I could wait a little bit longer before updating you guys for the first time. I'm not gonna lie, I was not excited for this one after having read the first chapter in my first chapter SPFBO prediction video. I did decide, however, to get the audiobook for this one, and I do think that the audiobook has made it a little more enjoyable. I think he lessens the tone of the Western for me. I can almost forget that it's a Western. There are some things I'm really enjoying. One of them is our main character. I think I like his motivations for things. I think that the subtleness of doing anything for your family and also changing for a partner but reverting back is really relatable for relationships and family dynamics. So I have been really enjoying that. And I do think that there's a really good tone in the story that I am enjoying, but I'm struggling still because of the lack of plot. I feel like I'm really expressing how much I need a good plot in this video. I'm really struggling with these stories that I think are about following a character's journey more than accomplishing a goal. I really liked the first 30% when he sets off and he has this little bounty quest he's gonna go to, and I thought that was gonna be really cool to follow the entire time and see him slowly revert to his old ways. I was really interested in that discussion, and then the story kind of just changes. We accomplished that really quickly. It moves on really quick, and I just was lost from there. I just lost my will to care because I was invested in this plot that I thought the story was going to be, and then it's gone and taken away from me, and I'm just well, I do like the magic in the world. I thought there was a really cool scene of him using his magic really early on, and he does explain the magic a little bit. As always, I wish that I could get more detailed into it, and I'm hoping the last 50% does, but also this book is so short. I'm a chunky book person. I don't think that you can accomplish the depth that I want in a story in fantasy, the world building, the expansiveness that I want with the detailed character development and the plot in a story this short. So this is probably just not going to work for me just because of that, because I feel like I'm not going to get enough information about everything, and if you haven't learned already, I need it. I don't want to infer things. I want to be told how things work, how things are, and I'm a little worried that the last 50% of this is really going to drag for me. I finished Cold West. I did not love it. I don't really have much more to add to what I've said already. I liked the first 30% a lot more than I liked the ending. I think this needed to be longer. It needed more substance to it, and I didn't care. That is truly the problem that I'm having with so many of these books, and I want to stop repeating the fact that I don't care about characters, and I don't care because there's no plot, and this one does remind me a lot about grief horror. I don't think I told you what it's about. We're following our main character who, when his wife dies, he reverts back to his old Wild West bounty hunter ways in order to do what he has to do for his kids. The spiral back to who he used to be is so rushed. I liked that concept. I liked at the beginning seeing him make decisions that weren't the best for his kids, but you could see why he was making them as a parent, feeling like he needed to do these things for them. But I got that for 30%, and then it kind of just spiraled to him being a bad person, and I didn't see the character development enough for me. But I did like his actual character. I did like his tone. I liked the voice. The other thing I really struggled with this is the flashbacks. I could not tell what was in present day and what was a flashback. It just all blended together, and it was very, very confusing and hard to understand in terms of that. Let's go over my ratings really quickly. I gave characters a 6. I think I already explained why I did that. I also gave plot a 6. The plot of this is just watching him spiral, but it's done so quickly, and then you just watch him do bad things. There's really no motivation behind him doing these things in the end. I got lost along the way and was hey, but what is the actual plot of this? I thought the plot was going to be the spiral, but then it happens, and then we're just seeing him do the bad things. The writing I'm also giving a 6, although I really liked
the style of his writing, I think it lacked definition to it. I was missing a lot of the information I wanted, and I think that was due to the actual writing and just how all over the place it was. I had to knock points off for those flashbacks. I just couldn't deal with them. Like, I could not understand where we were in the timeline all the time. The setting I am giving a 7. I liked the magic in here. I did really like this, but I wanted more. I wanted it explained, which again, I knew that I wouldn't get that because it was so short, but that doesn't change me wanting it. I'm a chunky book girl for a reason, and this just made me realize that. I also wanted to know more, like, we're in a pit at some point, and I'm like, why do we have, like, what was, like, I wanted to know more about that pit, what your experience was there, like, what the actual feelings were of the pit. I wanted to understand the layout, things like that I did not get. And my enjoyment was a 5 on this one. I liked the first half a lot better than I liked the second half, so I'm going with a 50-50 enjoyment. I think if we had continued the path of the first half for me and stretched that out, I would have liked this a lot more than I did. And I'm editing again and realized I forgot to tell you the final score for this one. This one did end up scoring a 5.87 from me, which for SPFBO will be a 6. And with that actually is the end of my first SPFBO vlog. I am excited for the last 5 books I still have to read. That'll be coming to your big screen sometime soon. I just gotta read them first. But thank you so much for watching this one. I'm still holding out hope for the SPFBO book that just blows me out of the water and that I just absolutely love. I feel like there was a few of those last year, so I'm still waiting for it this year. But other than that, thanks for being here. If you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here down in the comments, leave me a horse emoji for Cold West. And then if you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon, all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.